This episode has been brought to you by EM Digital Marketing. For your digital marketing, website design, contact Edward Morales at www.emdigitalmarketing.com. Also by The Ivy Nerds YouTube page. Check them out. Father, son, having fun, unboxing and checking and informing all of us of the nerdy, geeky pop culture stuff we all need in our lives. Also by Penelope's Bath Bombs. For bath bombs, soaps, and moisturizers, contact me. And I will tell Penelope, and we will get you some. And lavender, rose, or a variety of other colors and fragrances. Penelope's Bath Bombs and Soaps.
The number you have dialed has been changed. The new number is... Please note, the new number is...
Hello, welcome to Small Town News Podcast. My name is Skill. This is episode 105, 106, something. Oh, I'm in the triple digits. That's how I go. My guess, I kind of went out of order because in light of certain things that have happened. So I bumped up Donnie Wharton's episode, which I'm sure a lot of you saw on Facebook Live, but it's a little better cleaned up audio of it. Yeah, crazy week. A lot of stuff happened this week, personally for me, and then also just in the community-wise regarding news. Me, Monday, work full-time, and so Monday work, right after work, class. Tuesday night, I worked the office, and I went straight to the restaurant to work on Valentine's Day. It was crazy. Wednesday, I was like, I need to chill. I need to chillax. Thursday, I sat down with Simon Canales, Brawley Union High School District Superintendent, which is a pretty good conversation I had with them. Friday, I worked, and then I stayed after work to help prepare for the Mardi Gras Parade. And Saturday, participated in the Mardi Gras Parade, where unfortunately it rained. I think it kind of put a damper on things, but my hat's off to Los Vigilantes and the El Centro Chamber and the City of El Centro for continuing rain or shine. And so, yeah, that was my week. In the community, a lot also happened. Where do I start? So Chairman Mike Kelly gave his Puro County State of the County address on Thursday. And it was literally 2 days after a rumor, so I've heard, pretty intense discussion and item regarding the CEO's proposal to reorganize his office. So essentially, Ralph Cordova wants to eliminate the assistant CEO position and add just another deputy, effectively giving him control. I'm not saying he's a micromanager. I would not say our county CEO is a micromanager. I've heard that, but I wouldn't say that. And in the state of the county did not address that in that same meeting on Tuesday, there was a discussion on Governor Brown's proposed budget that would essentially bankrupt our county. And Mike Kelly, the chair in the State of the County address in front of people, and it was streamed live on Facebook, did not mention these things. Apparently, it wasn't as important as mentioning that the DA's office sponsored a 5K or something about a Chinese curse. I don't know. But I don't get it. How could that not mentioning those pretty important things kind of invalidates his State of the County address? And what I would have liked from our chair is, rather than, state department reports that were written for him by the department and submitted to the PIO, the Public Information Officer, I think the chair should have sat down with each department head and asked them, personally, one-on-one, what's going on? What's your department doing that I can input into my State of the County address? But he didn't. Maybe he was too busy. Like many other retirees, that's really a common thing I've been hearing from retirees here in our valley, is that they're too busy. And they all happen to be like elected officials that are retirees, that they're too busy. I want to retire now in the valley since there's so much to do apparently. I work a full-time job. I also work a part-time job. I work 6 days a week. I'm studying for my master's, which I've gotten straight A's with only 3 classes left. I'm in my class right after this class. I'd have 2 straight A's. I'm raising my daughter. I'm trying to start a small business for her to sell soaps and bath bombs, which you should buy. And I host this show. I'm willing to find time to speak with these individuals, many of these retirees. And yet they can't. They can't find the time for me. They must work 7 days a week with 3 jobs and have raised multiple. I don't know, man. Maybe because I'm asking a little bit harder questions. I'm still soft on my questions. But the fact is that I might ask a tough question. Is Dieter's in from Wharton? Come on. I don't know. It's like weird. It's like this county is an onion. And I keep peeling at this onion. Every layer, it's like there's a question mark on each layer. I peel it off once I find the answer. And underneath that layer is just another question mark. I keep peeling, question mark, and also magically the onion regrows and I'm back at square one. That's what I feel like sometimes. And then also in our community, in the city of Brawley, the permit for One World Beef was denied. Our city manager said the water board said no. It's a big blame game going on, and we're gonna be without a beef plant. People are gonna be without jobs. So I don't know. I didn't ask Donnie. I went back and listened. I didn't ask Donnie about the beef. We talked a lot about downtown, but I didn't ask about the beef plant because I think, like all of us, we assumed it was gonna be good to go. I think we saw them go through all these hurdles and barriers. We figured that's it. They got it situated. But apparently not. And you would think a council member, either Donnie or someone, I've had multiple on here, would bring that up, that it doesn't look like it's going to happen. But no. I think the answer many of them gave me was, well, if they comply, they'll do it. Which we should have seen that I guess like some sort of confirmation or confidence in a statement like that is probably a no, that it's not. That is going to be a denial. We should have seen it. If we couldn't get, an assurance, then it was probably going to be a denial. Maybe that's our fault for assuming. So hopefully we'll see. The city council is going to be lit. The city council meeting is going to be lit on Tuesday, as the young ones say now. And so I'll be there, checking it out. Someone on Facebook commented, my suggestion is you ask them at the council. I was like, okay, a 3-minute public comment where history has always been changed. The course of history can always be traced back to a public comment, right? Is that apparently? So anyways. See, I'm home alone tonight. My girlfriend and daughter spent the night at her grandma's because I was so upset about this news. I trashed the house. No, I'm just kidding. That didn't happen. No, her mom went out. My girlfriend's mom went out of town, and so they're spending the night with their grandma to watch her. And so I'm home alone. I'm so glad I have my family, though. Without my family, I'd go crazy. I'd go mad. And so that's why I'm on here doing this really long rant. Because usually it's me and my daughter's running around saying, play with me, stop talking to yourself. And so I'd have to go do it. So when I'm home alone and have the freedom to do a 10-minute intro, I will take advantage of that time. But hopefully you guys all go to the meeting on Tuesday. Brawley City Council meeting on Main Street. I think it's like 383 Main Street. I don't know. You should know where City Hall is at. It's where you pay your water bill by the post office at 6 o'clock on Tuesday. Be there. Even if you're not going to speak, even show the City Council that we want to know what's up. This press release that was released Friday was just out of nowhere. And so we'll see. Hopefully, we need some good luck. We need something. And so, anyways, my name's Gil, Donnie Wharton. Hopefully you enjoy, like I said. Hopefully some of them want to come back on. I think they should. Definitely should now. But, yeah, hopefully, listen, I try to give them some questions. I took questions from the... but above all, I give it props to Donnie. Is that he came over and I was like, hey, I'm going to do Facebook Live. And I didn't even tell him beforehand. He's like, yeah, let's do it. So my hat's off to Donnie for doing that, because he didn't have to. He can be like, whoa, I didn't prepare for video, let alone people listening to me live. And so hats off to him. But come on, this beef plant thing, we got to figure out what's going on, who's to blame, what's going on, who's to blame, but who's accountable. Is our city manager? Is our city council? Is the water board? Is it Brent? Is it One World Beef? I don't know. But someone has to step up to the plate and say, hey, if this wants to go through, it falls on me. Anyways. My name's Gil. Hope you enjoy this interview. I hope you enjoy my rant. And like I said, I'm not home alone very often. So... you won't be getting this too much. Donnie Wharton, episode 100-something. Enjoy. Yeah. Which is, a lot of politicians won't. You got, Helen wanted her... I needed her approval before I posted hers, which I didn't get. I think we're... Test real quick in there. I got to do that.
Test, 1, 2.
Good. We're Donnie Wharton, city council member, returning guest. Did the intros already. When... I've had you on. This is your second time?
Second trip.
I've had George on twice. I've had Sam on twice. Yeah. Helen on once. I haven't had Norma. Norma's the rookie, so maybe she's,
yeah.
And
she's a good rookie.
And Rosanna, we were supposed to schedule it, but I don't know. I think she's waiting for how her interview goes with the city of El Centro.
You revealing information I'm aware of?
One thing though, Donnie, is that I have Sam come on. He talked about I have Sam and Helen come on recently within the month. I think. Sam kind of talked about how Brawley is age-old and how things are great and stuff like that, whereas Helen gave the perspective of she's been frustrated. The city council doesn't have a plan. It doesn't seem to have a plan moving forward, and it's kind of been stagnated. So I guess what's your take on that? What's your perspective of and your, I guess, state of the city council or the city from where you sit?
Sure, there's a whole lot there, in terms of that question. First and foremost, it's exciting being back here again. I know it's taken a little bit of time, Gil, so it took a little while for round 2, but perspective I totally respect. Everyone may have a different perspective, not even on council, even throughout the city. So that's one of the things over the years that I have certainly have learned to really hone that skill of really keeping your ears open and the mouth closed more and really listening to what folks say. It doesn't matter, business, citizen, neighbor, whatever the case may be. There's always a lot to learn from obviously different perspectives. But my perspective in terms of the plan, I think I shared about 14 months ago when I was on here the last time. One of the couple things I feel I've brought to the team on the council is a very deliberate action that we take every year, and actually it's coming up pretty soon, which is our strategic workshop. And our strategic workshop is where we spend and dedicate multiple hours. Actually, sometimes this can take 3-4 hours. Sometimes it's less, where we specifically talk about what are the things we want to accomplish. And it's out of that we formulate a plan that frames up our budget process, because you know as well as I do, in the public process, without appropriations, without funds, you can have the greatest plans in the world. They're probably not going to happen. So,
and even if you do, they're probably not going to happen the way government is.
Probably a very good chance. So if you want to get the best chance, I fully agree. I come from the private sector. I come from, kind of the corporate side of America in terms of what I do on a day-to-day basis. I'm fully aware of what it takes to formulate measurable, attainable goals and plans. As you know, in private sector, if you don't achieve them, you may not be in business. So I hopefully brought some of that. So over the past several years, we actually enter into a strategic workshop, a strategic planning workshop, which really aids in our staff in formulating not only the departmental plans, helps us as council really formulate our budget emphasis and areas of focus. With that, I want to say over the past few years, staff has been very successful actually in executing that plan and hitting many of the goals.
What's part of the plan, though? I guess.
Give you an example, and I've got several I can give you, but I'll give you one for example. A very common one is folks around town, and it's common throughout cities in America, right? We want better streets, right? The proverbial pothole, in the street, and the reason for that is these are features of a city that don't last forever, right? So they certainly over time they wear out. We've invested over the past under a decade, but over the past several years, we've been able to take advantage of Measure D money, which is a half-cent sales tax that we hold on to for our local transit authority, and we invest. And we invest in the quality of our roads and streets here in town. We've done that to the tune of over $30 million over the past several years. Again, are there streets that need attention? Absolutely. And they're part of that LTA plan.
I guess my question is, and it's, I guess, playing devil's advocate a bit, how does that better the city? How does $30 million towards a street bring jobs or better get the community involved? I guess tell me what do we get out of it?
You got to, as a citizen, and again, perspectives are going to be different. You have to evaluate, and many of these things are services that most people, including myself, prior to getting on council, maybe took for granted. Things like safety, public services, roads, curbs, gutters, features that you expect to be in working order or in good order. But unfortunately, they cost money. And in many cases, they cost lots of money. So planning and city planning, including the downtown specific plan or the city's general plan, these are very important. As a matter of fact, in some cases, they're legal requirements for a city to have in place. What does it allow us to do? Allows us to compete for grants. It allows us to, as basic as it seems, plan ahead in terms of what we need to do today, what we need to do tomorrow, what we need to be looking ahead at, whether it's a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, for long-term planning. And maybe streets, maybe that doesn't seem so, sexy, but of course, depends on the street you live on, right, where that might matter. Let me give you something where rubber meets the road a little bit more. Palm's a great one.
You're going to say Palm, huh?
Palm's always a big one. No,
I keep saying that.
Palm's a big street, no question. But you know what? I live off of Legion Road, and that's a great example of a street that needs attention. So it's on the plan in the future for LTA funding, Measure D funding. But let me give you another one. The one that's probably the most popular is businesses. That's one area that we certainly over the past several years, since I've been on council, we've really taken what I believe has been a laser focus on what can we do to revitalize. Now, mind you, since that time, going back a few years ago, we had the serial arsons, taking place. That was obviously quite rattling to the citizens, including all of us. But once we got that stopped, it still left what was already an issue, and I think a very common issue in our city of what are we going to do to improve. And I know you hear the same things. We need private investment. My belief is this, as someone in private sector myself, I need an incentive, right? I got to want to. What does an investor want? They want a return on their investment. So I figured out very quickly one of the most important things we can do as a council, as city officials, is do everything we can to make that as inviting as possible. And how can we do it? What can we do to make inviting? Well, it starts with messaging. It starts with, first off, making sure that it's understood. We want you here. We want you to be down. here. How did we start that downtown? A couple things happened. The relinquishment of Main Street was a big move, something that I believe Councilmember George Nava and I really took full advantage of, to use that as a way to attract more visitation, really more visitors and onlookers and those members of the community to come out and actually spend an hour or two, if not more, downtown. How do we do that? We can really shut it down now. And as you know, we have about 8-9 events. I think you mentioned our market days, market night, farmers market, etc. That's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. We've brought a lot of our banner events that are surrounding Cattle Call, for example, downtown. I think one of the biggest nights we have as a regional attraction has been Mariachi Night. That's been midweek on Cattle Call Week. We're attracting 4,000 or 5,000 people now downtown.
But have those events led to businesses being open? I mean, downtown seems like it's kind of hasn't really changed. I mean, have those events...
I think it's changed. I'll challenge you on that, and I'll accept the perspective again. Yeah. I'm not going to take somebody's perspective away. Is downtown a finished product? Absolutely not. We all know that. I mean, we see. But here's what I see. I see more new businesses coming downtown than in the previous 20 years that I've been a resident here, 20 plus years actually. I always like to bring up, and I point out real quick, I'm a transplant. I think I brought that up last time too. So I don't have the street cred, maybe that a 4-generation family or 5-generation family, but I married a 5-generation family. So I hang that when I need to. But I think I bring a little bit of an outsider perspective too. I grew up in a great town. I mean, a town I'm still proud of, San Dimas, where I grew up. Actually did, in my opinion, some really good city planning. Kind of has a Western theme. And actually, there's a lot in common between San Dimas, the way I grew up in the city of Brawley, and maybe that's why I identified with it. But what I see downtown is I see new restaurants, I see new businesses, and I can name them by name. But
I see one, Inferno.
You see one, but don't, you see one, okay? Yeah. I also see a theater that sat dormant that got a little bit of a facelift, phase 1 of many phases to come. Okay, that's the next thing I see. I see Raspados Avenue. Don't discount them. They spent probably, who knows, $100,000 on refurbishing, opening up a business. And every time I pass by there seems to be a lot of patrons. I hope they're enjoying it. Great services and products. Let's go over to ICTC. You want to see some government investment. Thanks to our transit authority, they sank close to $2 million for transit bus station. Now, some will say, why do we need that? Transit is very important, the movement of people, folks that need to be moved, whether by choice or whether they choose not to operate their own vehicle, whatever the case may be. So that $2 million investment, to me, took a dirt lot, which means before that it was dirt, and if not before that it was an older building that was demolished, right? Turned it into something that's not only aesthetically pleasing, but also has a functional purpose for our city transit system. So another great win, another investment. Desert Review, a couple years ago, moved downtown. They rented, they leased. We have a thriving barbershop down there. I see new paint. I see new refurbishment. I see a little bit of pride of ownership that's starting to take place. So, Gil, the one thing I'll tell you is it's not a sweeping move that happens overnight, but more than just, like you said, the one restaurant, actually giving some kind of credibility to some of the other businesses that popped up. I see more and more investment. The other thing I'll share with you is we've had multiple conversations with different developers and different investors. The key is this: if you start with one, it's easier to get the two. It's easier to get the 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. If you're at zero, that I'd be sitting here with you saying, hey, I'm frustrated. But I'm actually very encouraged. I think what we're doing is working. I think we're continually adjusting. We got to do more. We got to do better. But the one thing, like I said, I'll push back on is I see movement. I see things changing. There's some real investments that we can make as a city to kind of compound that growth.
Yeah. So are those businesses that go there, they're just by happenstance? Or because if I'm a business owner and I want to come to this place, I mean, would community events really, be the decision making? Like, oh, okay, you put 8 events on a year, that's why I'm going to go.
Gil, good question. And no, and remember something. It's not any one thing that's the panacea. There's not. If it was that easy, everyone would do it, right? It could be a complex problem, yet for me to kind of present it in a way that I can understand it in the simplest form is this. For one thing is we have to advocate for downtown. I have to take constructive criticism, and believe me, I take it sometimes daily. So it's not that. But if I'm not an advocate for the city, who would be? If you really think about it. And I have to believe in what the vision can be and start working toward that vision. And that vision is sort of, I think, what you and I and many citizens share of what Brawley can be. And what seems like baby steps. And remember, the hardest thing usually in the beginning is getting started, just like a business. You got to survive that first year, year 2, year 3 gets a little easier, year 4, and you have to tweak and adjust along the way. And I'm applying a lot of those principles in my own experience, on council. And I see real investment. The other thing is, we tend to think of downtown as just the core. But don't forget along Main Street, Ramey's Meats for moving. They're a historic business, long time on Old Highway 111. We all see it as that kind of brick white building, that we've all been to hundreds of times, if not thousands. For them to move downtown and to put the kind of investment they did into, again, a building that's been there for decades doing what? Largely looking the same. That's real investment, and there's a reason why that's happening. It's not, one time might be a coincidence, 2 times maybe still coincidence. If you're starting to see 3, 4, 5, 6 times, it's not a coincidence.
You talk about what Brawley can be, but haven't we been how long do we have to keep asking that until we are what we can be? And what's
I think we're started.
Take?
I think we're started. So what is Brawley? That's a great question, right? Reverse that on a citizen, you might ask 10 people and get 10 different answers. But if you want my kind of perspective of what I think Brawley is, I think Brawley is a tremendously unique city. One of the reasons why I cannot see myself living somewhere else, one of the reasons why as a transplant I chose to raise my family here, not only to have my own civic pride that's been developed naturally, not because I was born here, because I choose to be here, got some of the greatest people I know. I get to travel all over the western United States, and I will tell you, Gil, I come back home. To me, this is home. Great neighborhoods, great people, some incredible thinkers. There's plenty of visionaries here. Part of what we're trying to do is try to harness that, bring that together. And remember, I wish it could happen in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. But I assure you this, it's happening. I can see it. Sometimes it's hard to see in the beginning, but it's one of those things, once it's built and everybody can see it, they're going to say, hey, I knew it all along, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of it's the grind of getting to where we want to be. And here's my point. Is it a destination? Is Brawley a destination where once you get there, that's it, we're done? No, it's a process. It's an evolution process. We're going to grow, we're going to evolve. We're going to move with the times. We're going to have to move with the economy. Sometimes that's the reality of things. But I think we've got a great team, and I think we've got an extraordinarily talented staff that's doing a whole lot with very little. Trust me.
All right. So that's one of the questions I asked previous council members. If you were on the council, if you weren't on the council, you were average, just little podcaster guy, and you're looking in, would you be happy with the council and the city?
Excellent question, and the easiest answer for me, quite honestly, is it's kind of one of the things I get to lay my head down at night believing that I think we got a great council. I think we got a great staff. I really think if you're looking for a collection of folks with the most important things, some of the intangibles, integrity, drive, a true appetite and a heart to make things better within this city, you have that. And the reason why we have that is not because of us individuals. It's because we have some great citizens that, trust me, we wouldn't be in the position that we were in had it not been for the voters, the people. And one great thing I will say about local politics, we face our constituency at Vaughn's, at the gas station, at the restaurants, at Brownies, at the social gatherings. There's no escaping it. I can't hide in Washington, D.C., can't hide up in the Capitol, can't hide in or out of district. I face my constituency every day because I live here. I have the same water service. I have the same police service. I have the same fire service. I drive on the same roads. I shop at the same stores, and et cetera, et cetera. You get the idea of what I'm saying. So I think that's sort of the pure honesty of local politics.
So you guys are great. We get that. What do you guys need to do to be better, though? What are some I guess hinders, or like what would you like to see from the council to get this evolution that you talk about jump started or keep making headway?
we need to keep doing the things that we're doing that are working. So, as I mentioned, you kind of pointed out one restaurant, but I pointed out a few others, that have happened right in that downtown plaza core. We'll also I didn't mention about another project. I'll keep the name out of it, but there's another bar food, establishment that's also coming right in that area. Again, you can argue, I guess, some ways would that have come anyways. I choose to believe we made that one of our strategic plans. It was one of our goals, to achieve a myriad of different ways, whether it's working closer with these businesses, whether it's signaling and messaging it, a combination of having the gatherings downtown and really promoting that. Going out there and putting kind of a storefront to the city a little bit. And what I mean by that is we did our Community Spectrum series. We intend to continue doing those. Just promoting in every way we can, taking advantage of small town news.
I hope.
Getting the word out there. You're almost all there. I think you're batting almost all of us, right?
Yeah,
and it needs to be a continual thing.
I would have had less, but I kind of, bucked the trend.
Great example of you face your constituency. So I have to see you. There's no avoiding.
Yeah, right. And
so what I want to see is obviously let's clearly we're about to enter actually our workshop, and I certainly welcome you to it. I think it'd be a great thing to be at, so you can see that process in action, how we set our goals, how we identify what the needs are, how do we figure out what's working. And some of the things are working. For example, like I said, the street program, overlay program, that's been going well. Naturally, you would think in most of our cities that take advantage of those funds, they can prioritize and figure out what needs to be done. But let's keep doing that. That's a continuous process. How do we invest in infrastructure? And that's the one thing you didn't ask me, but I get commonly asked. The things that keep council members awake at night, believe it or not, are not the things that you're looking at, like new businesses, maybe new entertainment features, maybe, things like that are kind of above ground. The things that really, as you get on council and you kind of go to that steep learning curve, you figure out real quick, it's the infrastructure and things that are below ground. It's just the things that we don't see in plain sight. But those are the things that could very quickly take a fragile city budget of any city. And by the way, what I'm talking about right now, this is small town America across the country. It's not just Brawley. It's not just the Valley. This is across good old USA. It's some ways you're keeping your fingers crossed that some of the older infrastructure kind of holds together, and at the same time to try to make those improvements as you can incrementally with the limited funds that you're working with, many times. So it's those kinds of things. Again, like I said, it's not exciting. We all want to talk about what's above ground, but I'm telling you, the things that keep us awake at night are really below us.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of small cities across America feel like the government's gone too big. Do you feel like that as well? Yeah. Sitting on the council?
Hey, look, back to kind of my little pitch, at least through my own experience, I can talk about with local. Local government is really what government should be like, where you do face your constituents day in and day out. We all live in the same, community and benefit from the same services or suffer from the same lack of services or whatever the case may be. Big government, once you get to state level, once you get to the federal level, it's just, I am a huge believer in, think of how much waste, expenditure, fraud, or the potential of that is at that level. We're talking to the tunes of billions of dollars. Would I rather have that as local control, as a council member, to spend right here in Brawley, whether it's our education, whether it's our community, whether it's our own roads, streets, infrastructure? Absolutely. There is just, we all know this from business. We all know what a middleman is, right? We all know how a product starts out from manufacturing. By the time it makes its way to the consumer, we all understand it goes through several processes to make it to the consumer, including advertisement, including trucking, including shipping, including warehousing, including distribution, right? You add all that in. Well, I look at government maybe a lot the same way. By the time that federal dollar makes its way to you and I, Gil, here in Brawley, how much of that dollar went to that whole arduous, expensive process? It really gets down to where we're hardly probably seeing a half a cent of that dollar. So for us to be able to have that type of local control, which is one of the reasons why I'm a big supporter and advocate of California League of Cities. It's our way as cities of banding together and advocating at least the California state level on particular pieces of legislation and maintaining local control is really what it comes down to.
All right. So going back to the goals, though, what's Brawley batting? You think you made a reference to batting, or what's Brawley batting on our goals? The goals that you have. What are the goals? I mean, at the end of the day, what are
I mentioned streets.
Yeah, okay.
So we focused on, we wanted, you're going to start off with a kind of a general statement of we want better quality streets, roads, curbs, gutters, all that. So in order to do that, we got to have a plan and start with sections of town that need that improvement.
Streets.
You mentioned Palm.
We got it.
That's
we
one.
got it.
Okay.
Right?
Downtown business focus, I think we beat that into the ground, right? So our strategy there was whether it be the events, whether it be promotion, whether it be community spectrum, whether it be engaging specifically developers, investors, which we do. One of the things you don't see, because it's not publicized. Remember, business entities come in, they want to keep some anonymity, right? They want to kind of keep a little confidentiality.
Do they? Don't they want to promote? I mean,
not until they're open.
Oh, okay.
When they're coming in, I'm talking about. So, it's difficult for us to go out in public and say, hey, we just talked to a developer. Hey, we just talked to this business that wants to open up so-and-so shop, whatever the case may be. But what I'm saying is those kinds of communications are happening more than ever. That's been my experience. When I started on council, I was hardly having any of those. Now I want to say it's a very regular occurrence. So we've stirred that up. That was one of the other areas. Balanced budget. It's a big one. We wanted to make sure that we're fiscally sound, we're solvent. I will be the first to tell you, in ever more difficult financial landscape right now that we're working in, state monies, federal monies, they're not plentiful. As a matter of fact, programs have been dissolved. Redevelopment money, that's been popularized over the past several years. That was dissolved. We don't have that benefit anymore. So talk about working within your means. It's a challenge. It's got to be a goal. It's got to be something that we're purposeful behind.
Because I got Sam on that. I said, Sam, isn't as a council you're supposed to have a balanced budget? I mean,
you would think, but do we at the federal level? Do we at the state level? I mean, do we at any level? So yeah, it's big. But here's my point. It has to be a deliberate action. It has to be something that starts right at the top and say, this is what we're going to do. And I will also say there could be times that means difficult decisions. But we have to know those decisions are coming in order for us to make the right decision. So that's something we work very hard at. It's not something that happens once a year. It's actually a continuous process. And I'm happy to say every year I've been on council, we've delivered a balanced budget. And that's not because of me. That's not because of a particular council member. That's really because it's been a team effort, tremendous effort on the part of our city administrator, our city manager, our department heads, because these budgets are managed at the department level, and they do a tremendous job.
Should we be seeing more from a city when we have a balanced budget? I mean, people have said that, the city's not in a good state, but when we have a balanced budget, we're in the black. Someone told me we're in the black. I mean, shouldn't we? I mean, what do we see out of it?
But this year, that ebbs and flows. Remember, you're in black one year, and next year you could be challenged with red. And I will tell you, coming in, we just had our mid-year budget review, and we're going to struggle this year. We might be running at a slight deficit. Fortunately, we have a reserve fund policy, a general fund reserve policy. So we sock away for a rainy day for just that reason. So when we have a shortfall, we make up for it, and then we can adjust accordingly in the budget. So the next 4 or 5 months, we have our work cut out for us, because going into the next fiscal year, we got to adjust for that. So my point on that is black ink does not mean plentiful surplus funds. It never means that. Unfortunately, for a city of our size, it's still a challenge. So what I'm lauding is we live within our means. We're going to continue to live in our means. And Gil, one of the other elements, one of the other quote goals is I think public safety is big. And public safety, again, not to be taken for granted, you have to invest in it. You have to keep staffing levels up. You have to work on retention. You have to work on recruiting. You have to work on training. You have to work on equipment replenishment. Again, just in case your listeners, and I think it's important for them to know, I like to be specific, between the PD and the fire department, which makes up our public safety, departments, right? That is well over half our city's general fund. Now, some might know that, but some may not. So again, just think about that for a second. Our general fund, over half our budget is dedicated to that public safety. So if you're going to rob Peter to pay Paul, where's it going to come from, right? If we want to move forward and we want to do certain things, let's say that
half our budget goes to public safety?
Over half our budget, general fund budget, goes to public safety. Absolutely. And you know what?
Is that normal?
It's actually pretty normal.
I mean, I'm not saying that's not taking I'm just
kind of comparing apples to apples, cities of our size. The other thing I'll state, we're fortunate we have our own PD. as you know, cities of our size, many of them don't across the country. They may outsource. They still pay, but outsource to the county level. That's not uncommon. You see it even in Los Angeles, a lot of big cities.
Calexico considered it.
They considered it, absolutely. And they had to make some budget adjustments to manage the same level of service. So one of the challenges when you're balancing budgets, you got to remember where the rubber meets the road is the service that's still being provided to citizens. I said this in one of our hearings last year when we were going through the Prop 218 process, and we were discussing openly in our public forum about the necessary move we had to make to raise water rates and wastewater rates. And that's just never a fun process. It's like raising taxes. You know, it's not something that, you or I or anybody else is not a very popular thing to do. But in order to maintain those special funds and keep them whole, keep them solvent, looking ahead again, doing the proper planning, make the capital improvements we're going to have to make, the money's got to come from somewhere. So that's part of the look ahead when we go through that process. But my point on that is if our toilets didn't work and we had a really bad problem in the city of Brawley with our sewer system, do you know how it would be standing room only at every council meeting? Meaning there are basic services that if you weren't able to get them, that would be much more of an impact to our daily lives. But we take it for granted, and we should. I mean, I'm happy to say I'm glad we take it for granted because that means what we're doing is working there. So it's those kinds of things. When I say balancing the budget, it takes into account the entire operation of the city. It's a challenge.
Going back to legal cities, I was there.
I saw you.
I was working. I went to be nosy.
You were working. One of the most popular ones, right? A little plug there.
What's up with this lizard? What's up with? I mean, is that really? Should we really get bragging rights on a lizard sculpture? Or was he? I hope he was joking. I hope Sam was joking, and I felt like they were laughing with us. Does that? I mean, when we talk about real issues and bring up stuff, I mean, what does that say when we have a pulpit to say, hey, maybe it's just my perspective. We have a pulpit to bring up real issues, bring up stuff, how we can improve the state of our city, and we bring up a poster of a lizard. What does that mean? What does that say?
Well, let's make sure your listeners understand. Let me help you frame that up a little bit more, okay? Just so we're talking about the California League of Cities, which is a state association, a compilation of cities like the city of Brawley that can join. We choose to be part of it. You don't have to be. But obviously, as I mentioned before, very important for city advocacy, legislative affairs, etc. Now, we have our division, which is all of our cities that are part of League of Cities here in Imperial County. So we meet once a quarter. And what you're referring to is what we call our bragging time. So let's make sure we frame it correctly. I feel like I was at an award show. Yeah, it's called brag time. But what brag time is, it is lighthearted, always has been. And it's lighthearted, and it's meant to present some of the new things that are happening in the city, kind of just the overview of what's going on. It's not a current events. It's more about what projects are being delivered, what improvements are being made. So in that vein, I think our mayor made light of actually a project that we're very, very proud of. So it's not just the lizard. It's Alice Giroux Park, which is close to a $3 million project. Very fortunate that our both past and present staff members competed for that Parks and Rec grant at the state level, and we were awarded that. So again, anytime you can take those funds and have those invested in our community, it's a plus. There's many more that have actually happened lately.
Some of our parks are pretty dry. Mm-hmm. So we're spending $3 million on a new park?
Off a grant that we were awarded. So we could refuse the grant. I don't think that would have been a good move. We accepted it, and we're going to deliver on it. So one of the points of pride, I think it's, not, I think pretty commonplace or commonly understood in this city, is our Parks and Rec department, as well as our park infrastructure, which means all of our parks. Are all of them perfect? Of course not. But we have more parks per capita, as we always like to boast. We've got to boast what we have. Those are the facts. If it weren't, couldn't say it.
We've got to be real about what we don't have.
Oh, absolutely. So what don't we have?
A lot.
Name one.
A high employment rate. Great test scores.
You're getting into some subjects I don't exactly touch, but I'm following you.
But I'm just trying to see the state how we can improve a downtown that is pretty dilapidated.
We do.
We have it.
I've already touched on that. But you got to acknowledge and let me tell you something. Look, you know this as a parent. You've got to be constructively critical, no problem. But you also have to positively reinforce. You have to message what has been done.
I don't. I just negatively reinforce my
thoughts. I know that. But I'm doing it. Hey, you're giving me a forum, so all I'm saying is pushing back. And you know what? I'm not saying it's not about right or wrong. It's about I'm choosing to look. I'm not even saying the glass is half full, but I'm saying at least there's water in the glass. So my goal is to get it up. Absolutely. And so I can assure you of this, and I'm speaking on behalf of council, so anytime I do that, I'm taking a chance here. There is not a council member, there is not a staff member that I'm aware of that takes the opposite behavior of that, of not wanting to achieve the very things that we're talking about. What I see now, though, is a concerted effort and push, a very deliberate effort on our part to hit these milestones, make these investments, attract these investors, and Gil, I'm telling you, it's happening. It's happening. It's happening versus an apathetic approach of, I have no clue. I can't tell you what we've done, and I can't tell you what we're doing. I'm certainly not sitting here telling you that today.
So what's the time frame you think? I guess.
I think it's a process. I mean, I'll go back to, I moved here in the early 90s, and there were features of Brawley, to me, for 20 plus years, looked the same, never changed. I see more change right now in the last 3-4 years. So if you want to put a time clock to it, I think the next 2-3 years, you're going to continue to see that change. If we double what we've done already, I'll give you another little interesting, statistics don't lie, right? Right? Numbers don't lie, right? You know? I know at least when I look at my bank balance, right? Try to argue that, a little bit. But here's what I'll tell you about statistics don't lie. In the latter part of 2014 going into 2015, so I'm going back a couple years, right? We had about in the neighborhood of about 800 to 900 active business licenses. Now, is that a gauge? It's just one measure. Doesn't mean you're successful.
I have a business license through the farmer's market.
Absolutely. But you know what? But if we have 10,000 of those, that indicates there's a lot of whatever's going on, right? So just use that as one measure. In about a year and a half period, coming up to just the beginning of last year, so I'm going back a year ago, about the beginning of 2016, that hit nearly 1,200, just shy of 1,100. It went up by a couple hundred. As a matter of fact, building permits went up from in the 200s to over 302 last year, for the year going into 2015 into 2016. We're going to get the tally for this year, and we'll be able to share that data, but those are important indicators that we look at. Are we trending the right direction? And that's my point. So to answer your question, I think the next couple years, 2 to 3 years, you're going to see more tangible improvements coming not only the downtown, throughout the city.
Okay, I won't have you on then for another 2-3 years.
If you're out to prove me wrong, I you know what? I will eat crow here on Small Town News. But you know what, Gilly? If I'm right, we all benefit.
All right, let me see. I'm going to see what people are asking. We're going on... my phone's about to die, so then we'll probably go off right now. But I'm going to see. People are tuning in.
Wow.
I wish more and more people would engage. No lie. I think I have to go on Facebook Live to get people to pay attention.
Talk about hot seat, because you did not tell me anything about Facebook Live.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let's see. We got people. Appreciate Donnie going on.
Thank you.
Will the Brandt Company pay back the money they got from the county? That's a county question. I guess, did the city give the Brandt Company money?
The city is working as close as they can. I don't think they mean the Brandt Company. I'm assuming they made One World Beef. Yeah, One World Beef. We're working very closely. I consider us a partner agency. And by the way, very, very excited that opened up.
Took a while, though.
It did. It was not easy. It was not easy, but my hat is absolutely off to the entire One World Beef crew as well as our staff for working together to make that happen.
Okay, my buddy Brooks here. How is the theater getting opened?
Theater's a tough one because it's a project by one of our very worthy foundations, charities here in Imperial Valley, the Community Foundation. My understanding, the latest communication, the biggest hurdle has been the engineering and the work to put a new roof on the building. Once that's done, it's kind of the opposite of a foundation, right? If we get a good roof on it, they can move forward with all the other phased improvements. So my understanding, we're very close. It may take some additional investment to kind of push it over the edge, but we're very hopeful that's coming here soon.
Okay. Someone want to ask you about the apartment complexes and the phases regarding that. I guess on Malin.
Yes.
And that's because that was a big thing too for a while there. That was I asked George about it. A lot of residents in that area felt betrayed from the council. That the council didn't inform. The council didn't hear them out. And there's some really. I mean, I think there still are angry people there. So I guess what are your thoughts on that? And I guess how did that transpire? Why did it get to that point where people were upset?
I think our council member Nava did a good job of explaining, but you're probably wanting me to reiterate, or maybe throw in my perspective.
Well, someone's asking. Yeah. Someone obviously didn't.
The one thing I'll say, I can never take away a citizen's perspective, and not only do I respect it, I take it into full account. At least, and I'm speaking personally here. So if there's any thought that was, taken on deaf ears, that certainly wasn't the case in my part. Whether someone wants to disagree with that, that's totally up to them. I have no issue. There's not a whole lot I can do about it. When I stepped into that project and I was first made aware of it, these were things, and many times in our city, many of these projects or these issues were a long time in the works. They didn't just happen overnight. This is sort of a set of circumstances that go way back. When that property was first rezoned to accommodate the residential subdivision, the Victoria Park area that was that came in going back into the early 2000s when that was developed. So what it left, in essence, was this parcel of property that was still zoned for specifically for something like apartments, high density dwellings, and so it was zoned appropriately. And the communication, again, that I've given is some differing opinions on what it was slated to be, such as a park and, other, public use. All I can say is what was presented to us, legally speaking, there was not a whole lot the city can do to do anything different because it was being utilized appropriately. This was a parcel split, a fairly routine thing that happens on a pretty regular basis in any city, much less Brawley. And for us to challenge the project overall, we would have had very little legal standing. And the bottom line was, as we articulated to the public, they would have come right back to us in the form of a lawsuit. They would have won, and they would have built the apartments anyways.
Okay. All right. Hopefully, let's see. Why are the restrooms taking so long? Well, that's because that's being volunteered. That's right. That's a volunteer project that I think Ramon Castro is heading.
If we're looking at Meserve Park, for example, which thanks to them. But, again, great questions, you guys, but I think they're chipping away at it, hopefully done soon.
I don't think that's a city thing. What are being done to fix our parks?
Yeah, well.
What's being done?
I just talked about a pretty hefty investment in one, but
I guess like I said, we talked about because I think a lot in Brawley, maybe this is just a cultural thing too, and that goes a macrocosm of Brawley. We're quick to dump something old and focus on the new thing.
Sure.
And so I guess maybe is that kind of the part we feel like that we got this new part, we're going to focus on that, build a great lizard sculpture, even though the ground, I know, I'm just joking, but and forget about like our schools are still in trailers, and we're going to build a new downtown too. We've kind of now we're kind of aware that it is it's
some movement
down, but now we're getting movement, but for a while that we completely forgot about it due to Walmart. So I guess how do we address that? How do we get people to care?
Gil, you're striking at the core of sort of that. Remember, I kind of mentioned through the budget process of living within our means, balancing the budget and the challenges of that. It just, a lot of this just comes down to bandwidth and manpower. And I will say this, and I could not say it if it just were not true on a day-to-day basis. We have a tremendous group of folks that work for the city staff that do a lot with a little. And what I mean by a little, they're not a big staff to go out. So making the rounds, making the rotations, making sure sprinklers are fixed, lawns are mowed, the occasion if it needs, additional attention, repair work, those types of things. It, quite frankly, is virtually never ending. It was our desire we can throw more resources at it. I will tell you, we struggle with that, but we're going to keep battling. It's like anything else. We want to do that. We are absolutely just as prideful or just as ashamed if there's a facility that has fallen out of either usage or favor or any of that kind of stuff. So a lot of this comes from just citizen reporting, interaction. We hear about it, we make sure it gets addressed, and I can definitely tell you one thing. If there's something specific at a specific park that needs to be addressed, we want to know about it, whether it's a call to City Hall, whether it's a call to one of the council members, whether it's an email, whether it's a text to a friend, or call my buddy Gil. He knows how to get hold of us. It does not matter. It's amazing how much through informal channels we get communication, but we do act on it. A recent one is Jeff Thornton Park. There was some graffiti kind of defacing, which is always horrific on the signage, of that park, but it was addressed within 24 hours. Thank God it was daylighted on Facebook, but I'm sure the phone calls went in and it was addressed immediately. So again, those are some of the small things that we can do, but the bigger things, if there's a park that needs to be completely refurbished, it's those types of projects we're always looking, what can we do and put it in our planning and something we can improve on in the future. But what did I say it takes? It takes money, and we got to allocate that money if we're going to do that.
So to get better, we need more money.
We do.
That's scary, throwing money at a problem, though? Or is that the reality
well,
of it?
Sometimes, no, you know what? I keep saying we do a lot with a little. What blows me away about Brawley, yet at the same time it doesn't, it's part of why would you want to live anywhere else? And I'm going to tell you, I was interviewed. I think I mentioned this in your last, so forgive me if I'm repetitive, if anyone's comparing notes, but of all people, I'm not a fifth generation guy, as I mentioned, but I was interviewed for our 100-year centennial anniversary for the city of Brawley. I was interviewed. I was on the front page, my little mug. Donnie Wharton, don't ask me why. People, believe me, rib me
like
for that.
Lifelong Brawley.
Yeah, right. What does he know, right? And I'll never forget my quote because I believe it. And that was, it's the people. It's the people that make our neighborhoods. It's the people that make our city. It's the people that make our businesses, our customers. I heard it from your parents when we had that wonderful kind of grand opening with the addition, for example, at Brownie's. But I'll never forget. And it was very emotional when you talk about your customers. Because in this town, you guys, we see our customers, they become family. My constituents become family. They're
That's
friends.
That's a good thing, though. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to be critical of family.
Really?
Not even that. Like
what family are you talking?
They're not really friends. They're not family. They're more friends, and that's sometimes, when you live in this small community, is that you can't. There's a lot of gossip, or a lot of even misconstrued words that are.
You're bringing up sort of the downside, the dark side
of
a small town.
Yeah, that's
there is.
Yeah,
but Gil, think about it. If there was more of that in Washington, wouldn't it keep more of our politicians honest? Meaning, you have to live a fairly unsullied life. You have to do right by your word here, or you'll be called out on it pretty quick. So the one thing I'll push back on you. If you're doing a good job, people will let you know it. If you're doing a terrible job, or you lack integrity, or you're doing the wrong thing, I really believe in this town people will let you know about it.
They'll talk about it. I don't know if they'll let you know about it.
Somebody will let you know about it. We all have that person, right?
Yeah. No, and would you like the community to get more involved, though? Is the community as engaged as it should be?
You know what, Gilly, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for the community. As a matter of fact, there is no such thing as too much involvement. There really isn't. That includes engagement. That includes our election process. That includes our social events. That really includes everything, not just the fun stuff. Sometimes it means some of the more difficult stuff, but there are numerous projects. I mean, the Kiwanis Club and the project downtown and the kiosk, that's just a small example of a big thing that can make an aesthetic difference. And again, some look at, those are small things, but to me, they always start something. Rotary is very engaged, does the same thing. Lions Club, Boys and Girls Club, in terms of what they do for the youth in our community. Our teen center, I can go on and on. We can rave. But again, let's not take completely for granted the wonderful things that happen every day around our town because of its citizens, because of its people. And I'm the first to tell you, that does not happen everywhere. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. And for those of us many of us that have, venture away, you'll see other attributes of big city living or maybe medium town living. But there's a lot of us that miss this, when you get away from it too far. Maybe why a lot of us choose to raise our kids here.
Yeah. All right. Well, approaching one more thing. I'm going back to Legal City. We were called the mud pot of the valley.
Did I miss that? Did someone say that?
Yeah, at the League of Cities. Yeah,
Talking about our town?
Yeah.
I take offense to that.
Yeah, the mayor, Alex Cardenas, I think said, I know it's in jest.
Aha, yeah.
Because I asked Sam, because I went to the reorganization for El Centro, and I kept hearing, I heard like 20 times, and I was like, we're the jewel of the county. I kept hearing that over and over. And so I asked Sam on here, I said, Sam, El Centro has said they're the jewel of the county. Why can't Brawley say that? And then so Alex went and quoted Sam quoting Alex. But I guess why can't that? Why can't Brawley say we are not a jewel? Sam said we're a jewel, but why can't we say we are the jewel?
I believe in my heart we are. And we've discussed some of the measures, over this, past several minutes, whatever. I really believe this. It begins with inside in your heart. You have to believe it. If you don't believe it, you're never going to be it. It's just like, goal setting 101 when we say, right? You have to believe to achieve. And we know we're capable. We know what we can do. We know what we're at when we're at our best as a community. And I'm going to take a little page out of the discussion you were just talking about with Mayor Cardenas, which I have the utmost respect for. But do you remember me going back up and following up and making a little reference about football and gridiron greatness? That's a classic example of, meaning there are wonderful attributes to all the cities, actually, that are down here in Imperial Valley. And that's one other thing I always find industry. We see it in sports. We see it sometimes in business. And we see it within ourselves when we travel outside of here. But what's interesting, it's amazing how big the world is. And when you leave the valley, you become a valleyite, not so much a Brawleyite, not so much an El Centroite, meaning there's a tremendous amount of regional pride as well. Don't forget, And with that, there are just some tremendous things that El Centro's doing, Imperial's doing, Holtville, Westmoreland, for that matter. Look at that. Small town has made some tremendous improvements over the past few years. And there's some jewel businesses that are buried within there. That's kind of the valley secret, right? That's not so secret. Town Pump, little plug. But those are the attributes. And I, as a citizen, I appreciate those. And that's why I say that. I believe we are. And not only do I believe we are, I feel the actions I'm taking on council are helping us to get there.
All right. Well, I think that's the hour. Hopefully, let's see any more questions. Daniel, what are the parks? St. Barney's a community events. Why are parks not irrigated properly?
That's I will take. I'll say that. Let me address that.
Oh, my phone just died.
Oh, I will address that though. I take great pride in my yard, for example, and I don't know what it is. I cannot keep all my sprinklers working the way they're supposed to. So
you see my yard?
I have to believe it's a never-ending battle, in keeping those things functioning. But certainly noted. I think that's kind of been a theme there. So I'll make sure not only is this public, but I'll make sure to put the word in with public works and parks and rec. And if there's some real bad areas we need to address, we need to get on that.
Thank you. Oh, and anything last you'd like to say to the people who will be listening?
I appreciate all the listeners, everyone that's engaged, and I appreciate you, Gil, for staying at this, man. You're going big time. What is episode triple digits, right?
Well, I know this is 10-something, but yeah.
Fantastic.
A couple thousand downloads a month. And thank you for being the first Facebook Live. That's that says a lot. That says a lot. So you got my respect. You've had my respect, but thank you.
Gil, I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.